One of Hollywood's top leading men grew up here, 5 minutes from another Oscar nominee. Before his arrival on the red carpet, this Quebecois director studied here. Our studios are defining VR. Oh, look out. And that foul-mouthed superhero once roamed these halls. This is Canadian content, and it's time we take credit for it, starting now.
Oh, I want to wave
a
flag or something. Karine Vanasse is joining us. She is the French ambassador to this fantastic campaign you just saw called Made or New in French, where we are sort of taking ownership of the fantastic work that we do. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, we're going to talk about your involvement in this. We're going to talk about what this means to you. But it is International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. And
so
to you as well.
Thank you. We've been talking all morning about what it means. You know, you're in a very male-dominated field. The bosses still remain, for the most part, men. I'm wondering what this means to you and sort of in your particular field. Are you finding things are getting better or worse for women? Or are you like
well,
more
I
the
feel
same?
like it's funny because I posted something on Instagram this morning, and I feel like it makes sense and it resonates for me in my field of work, but I feel like it could potentially resonate with every woman. I feel like it's really about nurturing the power that we can create together when we really take the time to listen to each other, to really notice each other. And, well, in my field in particular, I feel like what's changing right now is that, you know, even if your boss was a woman, or if women were in charge, it wasn't necessarily good news for you.
It didn't make it better. Right.
Not necessarily. Okay. But I feel like that's changing. So we're less afraid of the competition.
Yeah, and Derek was asking me, my co-host was asking me about that. He was saying you know, he had heard, the sort of, people always say women are harder on each other. And my perspective for that was because there's so few seats at the table for women that when somebody is coming up, we think, oh my goodness, she's coming for my spot,
because
for my job.
When we think, like, you know, you shouldn't compete, we say that to boys and girls, like, okay, it's really, the competitiveness is not, put that aside, there's room for everybody. But no, if there's only one woman at the table, if you want to be that woman, then you have to push the other ones aside. Yeah, which brings the conversation to let's make more room at the table for women. Interesting perspective. I love this. I love this. Okay, let's talk about, you're the French ambassador for the NOUS, which we just saw was made. Yeah. I saw that commercial and I had chills. So when they approached you with this, did you feel the need for this? Do you think that we're not taking enough ownership of our content? Yeah. I mean, I feel the need, but I feel a change also. I feel like people now, Canadians are not only celebrating Canadian content, but they're recognizing it. And that's a big shift. Like I see it with my show Cardinal. It's just people are saying like, it's good and it's Canadian, as if because it's Canadian, it has to be brown and beige? Like, what is it? But it's just, but I mean, it's really, I feel like people are almost surprised to see, like, it's really good. And anyway, so I feel like...
to be honest, there used to be that thing you used to say, like, oh, it reeks of Canadiana. Like, it was very brown and beige, as you say.
So I feel like we're proud of what we're creating here, and we don't need to, like, put a flag on it. It's Canadian. Why? Because it's our values. It's the way we tell stories. It's what we like to. It's what we like to put forward as storytellers. But one thing that I think the campaign is really doing well is that it's one thing to say, well, let's be proud of us. Okay, but who are we? Like, who's Canadian? So we know of certain directors, actors, but there's so many. People involved in game development, like special effects. We're probably #1 in the world for special effects.
That's true. People come here and shoot like all of the X-Men, everything, all of that stuff happens here.
So, you know, and the campaign is saying, like, you know, from this province to this province. Because I feel like even in Quebec sometimes we tend to say like, oh, there's that movie or series being shot in Quebec, and then somewhere else in Canada that is being shot. But actually, if you go on the new-made.ca website, it really tells you precisely where and with an E is being shot. Who's from where, like. Where's from Jared Keeso? Where is he from in Canada?
Yeah. Which
Letterkenny, where is it shot?
Yeah, and there's no, and that doesn't happen in the States. In the States, everyone knows, like, oh, you know, that's in California. Like, there's so much more ownership of and pride.
And you know why it happens? And I feel like that's one thing. It's one thing to ask from the viewers to know where everybody's from, but we need eventually the industry in general to support that idea. So we need magazines to put Canadian actors, artists on cover pages.
Right.
I feel like that's one thing in Quebec that we've been doing quite well.
The star system in Quebec is totally different. Like, the star system in Quebec exists.
Exactly.
And in the rest of Canada, for the most part, they're returning to American
yeah, but
stars.
I feel like it's slowly changing.
Yeah.
To support that, to support the awareness. I
so
feel
what
like
are you
the whole
asking for the
industry
people
needs
at home?
to...
Tell me what do you want from the people at home?
So really, go on the website, so new-made.ca, and really there's a map of Canada, and you can really see, yeah, you can see who's from where and what's being shot where. Outlander, because I feel like sometimes it's okay.
Outlander is shot here?
Yeah, you didn't like. I didn't know myself, and it's. I mean, in the end, even if it's not only solely totally Canadian, just to know that it was shot here.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a fan of the show, maybe you'll want to go there and visit the sites. Like, people go to New Zealand to visit like different
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, exactly.
You know what I think is interesting is that there's a very big part of Canadian culture that is like, we're not like rah rah rah. Like our friends to the south are very like, yeah, America.
Sure.
Canadians are more like, oh, we're Canadian high, we're like polite. But this is like, no, put the politeness aside and own it and be proud of it.
And actually, maybe even take ownership as if we're taking it away from someone else. But it's just saying, hey, no, we're doing it together.
Yeah.
We are making this together.
Karine Vanasse, again, the star of Cardinal, ambassador for MAID, or the new campaign. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure to be here.
And happy International Women's Day.
You
to
too.
you as well. Stay tuned. You're watching Breakfast Television.